What up, it's Kevin. Let's talk about another absolutely insane PJ Masks episode. I honestly did not realize how wild the plot of this episode was until I was watching PJ Masks with Blob and they were like, oh, it's the Blackmail episode. The huh? I mean, who is even surprised at this point? I swear, kids shows just have a way of being unhinged and covering mature topics that you really wouldn't expect them to touch on. When I actually dissected the episode, though, I realized that it's kind of a banger, actually. Gecko the Croc is an episode from Season 5 that premiered in 2021. Let me sum up the plot for you. Basically, it begins with Pharaoh Boy on his usual bullshit, attacking the PJ Masks and controlling them with his magic staff. He freezes them and makes them do menial tasks for him before striking a deal with Gecko. The deal is basically that if Gecko helps him carry out his evil plan, he'll let Catboy and Owlette go free. Which, in my opinion, is a pretty fishy deal, and I wouldn't expect a villain to keep his word and follow through on it after 5 seasons of dealing with this crap, but oh well. Here's the real kicker. Pharaoh Boy tells Gecko that if he tells anyone about their plan, the deal is off. Pretty crazy stuff for PJ Masks, but again, we've seen a ton of crazy from the show. Pharaoh Boy specifically targeted Gecko, knowing that he's the youngest and easiest to manipulate. He isolates Gecko, taking out his support system, then puts pressure on him to do the so-called right thing of saving his friends. Even going so far as to put a time limit on him to increase the stress of the situation. Even though Gecko knows what he's doing is wrong, he rationalizes to himself that it's for the greater good, even though the other villains literally call out his behavior. Once Pharaoh Boy didn't need Gecko anymore, he got rid of him. It's also important to point out that Gecko wasn't immediately compliant, he was resistant to the plan at first before Pharaoh Boy broke him down. So Gecko goes out and does a bunch of tasks for Pharaoh Boy, including stealing Night Ninja's sticky splats and Luna's magnet. He's about to steal one of Newton's asteroids before Newton is like, hell nah, what are you doing, man? And stops him. Of course, Newton is pretty intuitive, especially when it comes to his friends, so he notices right off the bat that something is wrong with Gecko. Gecko comes to his senses and explains the whole situation to Newton, and then Newton delivers one of the most badass lines on the show.
You should have come to me immediately instead of sneaking around.
Pharaoh Boy said I'm not allowed to tell anyone.
Of course he did. He knows that sometimes asking for help is the most powerful thing a hero can do.
Then, of course, the two of them team up and go defeat Pharaoh Boy and save Catboy and Owlette. The thing that really gets me is that the second Gecko explains what's going on, Newton is totally surprised that Gecko didn't come to him for help first. Not only does he act like asking for support is the obvious course of action, but he also calls out Pharaoh Boy for his manipulation tactics such as gaslighting, threats, coercion, isolation, lying, guilt-tripping, victim-blaming, testing boundaries, and degradation. This whole thing is in character for Pharaoh Boy, but it's also really similar to what abusers and bullies do in real life. They prey on targets they consider weak, isolate their victims, and convince them that keeping secrets is the right thing to do for their friends and family. Although this episode is a bit more realistic than you would think at first, the whole thing is phrased in a way that's incredibly simplistic and easy for kids to understand. Honestly, the first time I watched this episode with my brain, my first thought was, why don't more kids shows have episodes like this? Seriously, I know we've talked about the questionable morals in PJ Masks, but this one totally missable episode tackled a topic that most kid shows don't dare to get near. I haven't dealt with the situation involving blackmail myself, but I know kids who internalize the clear message of this episode are more likely to seek help if they find themselves in a dangerous situation. Personally, I think more kids shows need to address heavy topics like this in kid-friendly manners. It was simple, it was straightforward, and it read just like any other episode. Whoever came up with the script, honestly, I applaud you for giving PJ Masks some ounce of redeeming quality. I'm just joking. No, I'm not. A lot of this show's morals suck. That being said, Gecko the Croc is an example of what the show can do when the writing is good. And this episode is from Season 5, no less. If you guys have any other episodes that you feel like had awesome writing, let me know and maybe I'll make more episode reviews. I'm thinking of doing more of this shorter form content so I can get more of my thoughts out about the show and accommodate my school work schedule a little bit better. Who knows, maybe I'll be able to upload once a week with shorter videos. That's not a promise though, I'm just throwing ideas out there. Anyway, take care and I'll see you guys next time.